Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Randy Gores. I'm with the City of Tampa. I'm the Director of City Planning. I want to welcome you here tonight for the Palma Ceia Neighborhood Commercial District Plan. A couple of things before we start. I see we have a couple of City Council members online who are viewing the event. I wanted to acknowledge them. First is Bill Carlson, who's from the South Tampa District. He's here viewing the event. He's been a major proponent of this this program and this project. So I want to welcome Councilman Carlson to tonight. I also have Councilman John Dingfelder. He also used to live in the district. Actually, we lived across the street from each other, maybe 10 or actually almost 20 years ago. So he's on board, also viewing the event as well. We're excited to present this planning effort. We did the same presentation, a similar presentation to the residents on Main Street last night. We learned a great deal in terms of using the GoToWebinar forum. This is not our preferred way of doing these types of projects. We like to be out with people where we could actually point to maps and have conversations and get to know people more on an interpersonal basis. But this is the system that we can use. Last night we learned quite a bit. The good news, we had some practice that we're able to use tonight. I would say that maybe the weak news is we learned that it's not the most interactive forum to use in a program like this. We're limited tonight to having you provide comments through the question box, and for you to be able to see everyone's comments, which is the limitation of the technology, we have to respond to each comment so it can appear so everyone can see it. So you might see a bunch of letters when you type your comment or a question. You might see a letter that follows it. It has nothing to do with your comment. It's just so that we can display the information you're providing so everyone can see it for their benefit. So we're just going to go ahead and jump into the program because everything that I need to share with you is in this presentation. So here's the agenda for tonight. We're going to give you a background on the Neighborhood Commercial District Planning Program. We're going to review the study area. We're going to talk about what makes a great district. And this is really what we feel makes a great district. We'll go over the approach, which is basically how we're going to approach this planning process, the roles that each of us will all play, and the schedule that the program will take. Then we're going to go through our initial impressions of the district. This is really, we spent, our colleagues and a few others have spent some time over the last several weeks getting to know the district at different times of the day. And we're going to give you our initial impressions, very high level impressions, and sort of what we see in the district, which might form the basis of the planning effort. And then we'll talk about the next steps as we close the project or close the night out. So before we begin, we're recording this event so that we can post it on our webpage for people who aren't able to view it so they can see the same presentation. Everyone is on mute, so don't worry about that. You'll be able to enter your comments and questions anytime in the question window. And again, this is a new technology. It's a new technology for us. And we're still learning it like we did last night. And I expect to have some glitches tonight as we're still flushing it out. So we're asking for your patience up front. Now, I'm not sure if you're like me, but when I go to a restaurant or when a restaurant is opened, I like to download the menu and check it out so I understand what the menu is. So when the waiter or the waitress asks me what I want to eat, I'm going to be ready. I'm going to be prepared. I already know the questions I want to ask him or her about the menu. So that's what this is about. We're going to ask you during this presentation, we're going to ask 5 questions, and we're going to ask you to type your response into the question pane. And so I want you don't have to answer anything now, but I want you to think about these questions. We're going to ask you to describe the words that you feel describe your vision for the future of the district. Short one-line item words or one-line words, anything that makes you feel about or how you feel about where the district will be in the future. Later on, we're going to ask you if you could change one thing about the district, what would that be? little bit later on, we're going to ask you, what is the one thing for us to be successful? What is the one thing that we must not do? As planners and also people in the city, we're always thinking that what we're doing is working. But the one thing is maybe there's something that we shouldn't do to make sure that everything works the way as well as possible. Then we're going to get a little deeper into the district. We're going to want you to identify 3 issues that we must solve in this process. Whatever those issues are, they can be specific or they can be broad, but we want to know from your perspective, what is it that we really need to spend our time in over the next several months? And at the end, we're going to let you be the city planner and come up with what you think is the big idea for this district. What do you feel is going to make that big change, that signature change is going to define the district into the future? So those are the questions. Think about them. Don't type anything in now. You'll have an opportunity, but you'll at least know now what we're going to be asking you. Okay, so the neighborhood planning program was requested by City Council a number of months ago. It was supported by the mayor's T3 Transforming Tampa's Tomorrow initiative. The mayor authorized us to begin looking at how we could create this program. And the idea was to develop an approach to look at neighborhood commercial districts. And these were the smaller districts like the one in Palma Ceia and also like the one at Main Street. And there's others throughout the city that have not been really given the opportunity to have some targeted planning services as maybe like downtown or Ybor City or some of the other larger areas. The key part about this program is making sure that we involve the local community and the stakeholders. We want to create a vision for the district that is supported by the people that live there. And we want to identify specific actions to achieve that vision. So it isn't just a vision document. It will have some specific actions and a roadmap to be able to move the plan to achieve the vision that is supported by the community. This is our team. We've assembled a fairly diverse team from the city's planning and the development and growth management department. We also have representatives from the mobility department, the legal department, the planning commission, the MPO, HART, and the USF School of Architecture. We have a few people online that I want to be able to let them introduce themselves. You'll get a chance to hear their voice. The first I'd like to introduce is Stephen Benson from the mobility department. He's actually going to be the project manager for this specific project. So over the next several months, you'll be hearing and meeting Stephen in a variety of different ways. Stephen, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, thank you. Good evening. Looking forward to working with everybody. Thanks for tuning in tonight.
Great. Next, we have Jay Collins from the Planning Commission. Many of you are familiar with the Planning Commission. They're one of our strong partners in this process. Jay, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Randy, and good evening, everybody. Again, Jay Collins with the Hillsborough County City County Planning Commission. We're really looking forward to working with the neighborhood of Palma Ceia in the city of Tampa. And with that, back to you, Randy.
Thanks. And lastly, I want to introduce Taryn Sabia from the USF School of Architecture. We have a very unique partnership with the college on this project. Taryn, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. We're really excited to be partnering with the city. I am a professor at the USF School of Architecture, as Randy mentioned. I'm also director for their Florida Center for Community Design and Research, and we have a team of 11 advanced graduate students who are going to be dedicated to this program throughout their semester this fall. So thanks, and we're really looking forward to working with the community.
Thanks, Taryn. Okay, so here's a little bit, some of the things that we're going to be looking at over the next several months. We're going to be looking at the existing and future land use in the district. We're going to look at the design of the street, the design of the buildings, the public realm, the sidewalks, the public spaces, the business composition, what's there today, what could be there in the future, the opportunity for multimodal improvements, crime prevention and public safety, urban design, architectural detail, and much more. In fact, we're going to be looking at just about anything that is surfaced through these meetings that we have. because if it's a strong issue for you, then it's something that maybe we should spend some time and attention in taking a look at it. Let me talk about the study area. This was the original study area that we proposed, which many of you saw on our website. And with projects like this, sometimes we get questions about the study area itself. In fact, we were getting questions about, could we include more of McDill Avenue than what we had shown in the map? There was also questions about, was it really necessary to include the residential here, because they weren't really sure if the residential was really going to change. So we went back, we took a look at our original assumptions, and we came up with this configuration, which is really the commercial area from Hines to the crosstown, and then at San Miguel, then going south to the crosstown. We didn't want to go north of San Miguel because then we start running into the residential on the west side of the street in the country club, and actually the fabric of the commercial district changes north of McDill. The real beginning of the commercial district starts, at least we think, at San Miguel. So we think we're going to go with this as a starting point for the district. I think we have an opportunity to get your input. So you should see a poll, at least I hope you do. It just generally says, do you feel that are you generally okay with this being our study area for the project? And you have a few minutes, I think, to go ahead and reply to that poll, and then we'll see what the results are. Okay, we're going to close the poll down. Okay, so we have it. We're going to move forward on this. Okay, so that's our study area moving forward. I appreciate your input, and that hopefully had a little bit of fun. Okay, so let's talk about what makes a great district. And this really is about what we think makes a great district and some of our research into other districts around the country. But a great district really, it starts with, or I want to say starts with, but it has the buildings and the contents. It's really about the types of structures, the architecture of the structures, where the structures are sited on the lots, how they look, how they relate to each other, and then also the contents. And what we mean by the contents is the businesses. What types of businesses? Is there a variety of businesses? Are there places for people to eat, drink, shop? Are there services? All of these things together can make a high quality district, or a district that serves the community. And it's really key that they are, oops, hang on. I'm not sure if you're seeing that. My screen shows you're still seeing a, okay. You should now be able to see the slide about the buildings and the contents, and I apologize for that. That's one of our glitches that we were telling you about. But anyways, a great district is comprised by the buildings and their contents, and the businesses that form and are in those buildings and how they relate to each other. So we're going to look at all of that. We're going to look at how the buildings are oriented in the district, the types of businesses, not only for today, but also in the future. Another thing that makes a district is the street. And we stress that we want to look at the street from a different perspective. You know, typically people look at a street in terms of the number of cars that it can carry. And they're looking at only at from the curb line, from curb to curb, which is basically the parts that is occupied by the car. But we look at a street not from the curb line to the curb line, but from the back of the property line to the other side, to the back of the property line. And when you look at a street in that way, you can see that a street not only has the capacity to carry cars. It has the capacity to serve businesses. It has the capacity to hold trees. It has the capacity for children to walk. It has the capacity for sidewalk cafes, outdoor cafes, those kind of things. And we move into a broader view of a street in terms of its capacity to support a vibrant social and economic life. So when we look at the street, we're going to look at it from a much broader perspective and making sure that it's serving the district in the best way possible. Other people will call it complete streets, but complete streets again just focuses primarily maybe on the sidewalks to the other side. We want to look at everything from the buildings, from the back of the buildings to the other side. We want to look at the area where people might be dining. Is there room for people to dine? Are there rooms for outdoor cafes? Is the shopping zone sufficient for them? We want to look at where trees are placed and can they accommodate future trees? Where are the utilities, the electric light poles? How do they relate to the pedestrians who are walking? Obviously, you want to look at the street itself, and is there room for bike lanes, travel lanes? How much traffic needs to be accommodated? All of these things are things that we look at when we talk about looking at the street and the capacity of the street to serve the district. And lastly, what makes a great district are the people that use it, the people that visit it, the people that drive through it, the people that hear about it. It's all about the people that come and use the district, because if they're not going to do that, then the district's not going to be able to flourish. So this slide doesn't have any images of people in it yet. That's because we're beginning our public engagement program, and we hope to be able to meet many of you who live, work, and use the district over the next couple of months. So the next time we show a picture of people, we'll be able to show a slide with many of you in it. This is our approach. We're going to use a variety of different ways to understand the district. We're going to have community meetings like this. There'll be 2 others like this before the end of the year, and then there'll be a few next year. These are meetings primarily to deliver information to a mass audience and pick up some information, mostly to make sure we're on track. We're going to host a variety of focus groups over the next several weeks. These are smaller group meetings with property owners, business owners, residents, visitors, people from all different types of backgrounds, because we find that depending on what your primary desire is for the district, you're going to have a perspective that's in line with that. A property owner is going to have a different perspective than a resident of the district. There may be some overlap, but they're going to give us a different perspective. And our goal is try to understand the district from as many perspectives as possible. We will use surveys. We had one survey that was up and it closed. We'll be releasing other surveys throughout the next several months. Some will be more, maybe targeted. Some might be broad. Some might be on one topic, but we're going to be able to use those as an opportunity to pick up information where we need to. We will use some limited, I want to say limited, we will use some targeted social media. We'll be primarily on Nextdoor, where we'll be able to engage with those of you who use that platform on a regular basis. I mentioned that we have USF School of Architecture who is going to be working with us. They've dedicated a 12-week course to these commercial districts. As you know, we're doing a commercial district plan up in Main Street and Howard Avenue, and we're doing this one in the Palma Ceia district. They have 16 master architectural students who are taking the class, and they divided themselves up to focus on each of these districts. So they've already 3 weeks into the project, and so the next 9 weeks they're going to be lending their support to us in this effort. They'll be looking at it from the architectural and design aspect, and bringing to us hopefully some renderings, some ideas, and so forth. This is a very valuable resource for us for two reasons. One, we get to tap into the excitement and the ideas of students. They're not professionals. They don't know all the rules that they have to follow, and many times that allows them to recommend solutions that are a little bit more out of the box than maybe the practitioners who have to follow all of the rules. The other part is it gives us an opportunity to mentor students and to allow them to learn about the real life problems that they can use as they develop their career. So we're very excited to have them on board. And at one of the meetings, a couple of meetings coming up, you'll be able to see some of the work that they're going to produce. We'll also focus in on, or our professional staff will complete a variety of different community analysis. That's what we do best. That's where we have the data. We'll do the demographic drill down. We'll look through all the studies that have been done. We'll bring the professional staff together and really get a statistical analysis of what's happening in the district. We're also going to produce a market and economic analysis as best as we can to give an idea of what is being supported today, but more importantly, what we think might be supported in the district in the future. Those types of businesses which will probably have a high likelihood of success, and then those that we might need to do something to create a broader market to attract those businesses. And then finally, the professional staff will take all the information that we pulled from these different aspects or different activities, and we'll start having our own internal discussion as to where do we see the key issues, the opportunities, and what sort of alternatives might be out there. And then we'll bring that back to you so that you can see the synthesis of that information. Your role in this process is to participate in the community meetings like tonight, and there'll be 2 more here before this quarter is over. Fill out our surveys as they come up, participate in the social media discussion, send us your ideas via the email, the webpage. We'll have a contact form on there. It's not up there yet, but we will have one up there. We'll also, as we roll out some focus groups, we would love to have as many as you as possible participate in those focus group meetings so that we can really, again, spend some time understanding the district through your eyes. Then, of course, follow the project and let other people know about it. This is our schedule. It's basically 3 phases. We're going to have a phase 1 is what we started this month. This is our listening and exploring phase. We won't have very many answers over the next couple of months because we want to listen to what you have to say about the district and where you feel are the issues and the needs and the ideas that we need to explore. So we're going to be doing the public engagement here between October and December. In phase 2, we'll have that's in January to March. That's when we begin developing the conceptual designs. The ideas start taking shape. We'll have quite a few ideas in January and March, and then we'll work with you at the end of March to try to coalesce those ideas into some actions that seem to be that would have the support of the community. It would best move the district forward. And then phase 3 is when we refine everything into a plan and develop the action plan. What really is going to be done and how does it get done? And that's where we start talking about potential funding, if there's funding available, how everything comes into play, whether there's short-term actions, mid-term actions, and long-term actions. I should say there's going to be, I mentioned the community meetings. There's this community meeting. We are going to have a community meeting around before the Thanksgiving break. That's when we'll come back with the preliminary results of all of our public engagement. Just make sure that one of the things that we want to make sure is that are we hearing, did we hear everything correctly, and are we perceiving the district the way you perceive the district? And then we'll have a meeting just before the Christmas holiday break where we sort of finalize what our issues and opportunities. And the issues and opportunities really will form the basis of the plan as it lets us know that that's sort of the ballpark that we're operating in. So let's talk about some of our first impressions as we walked around the district. And basically, before we get into that, this is one of those first questions. What words describe your vision of the district? As you look out into the next 20 years or so, what words would you describe or that bring to mind how you would like to see the district evolve? So in the question box, go ahead and type those words. and we'll be able to collect those. I'll give you a few seconds or a little bit of time to type in your responses. Okay, hang on just a second, please. Okay, so our first impressions. We talked about the buildings earlier. There's quite a few nice looking buildings in the Palma Ceia district. There's a good variety. You got some new buildings, you've got some old converted homes that have turned into businesses. You have some of the chain stores and buildings that bring together a number of businesses in one location. Nice outdoor cafes already there, and places for people to sit, have a cup of coffee, and be able to converse with each other. So there's a good basis of businesses that already exist in the district. For our second question, if you could change only one thing about the commercial district, what would that be? Okay, let's move on as you keep typing in your answers. As we walk through the district, we found these interesting little spaces, which can create, they can be either retrofitted for a little activity, or they can just stay the way they are. But the nice thing about it, there's a variation of design, a variation of space that lends some visual interest to the district. This also shows, this is really kind of a very positive sign of the district. When you have businesses that are able to communicate pride in the community, or a message, positive message to others in the community. When you have business owners that feel this way, it shows that there's a certain level of pride that can be built upon in the district. So these are very positive signs for the area. You have a variety of different types of businesses. You've got cleaners, you've got the storage area, you've got the hair salon. So there's a variety of services that are needed for people in the community, in the immediate community, as well as nearby residences. You also have a couple of churches in the district or near the district, again, providing service to residents of the area. So we asked about your what we should do, your vision, and some of your ideas. What is it, the one thing that we should not do? Okay, you guys keep going ahead. Go ahead and keep writing your responses. I'll keep moving on. I'm not going to comment on this project because it's still in the rezoning phase, public hearing phase, I should say, only to say that when we look at the district, we want to look at the district in terms of how would it respond to major changes in or around the district. We're talking about a plan to guide the district over the next 20 years, and a lot of things can happen over the next 20 years. So we want to look at the district in terms of what would happen to the district. How might developments like this, maybe not this particular one, but others that might happen in and around the district, what impact would that have on the overall district itself? And how can we make sure that the district responds positively over the long run? There are some vacancies along both Beta Bay and McDill. There are actually more vacancies than I thought there would be. I was a little bit surprised. So I think we want to spend a little bit of time understanding what are the forces that are causing the vacancies and what would need to change to bring those, to reverse those patterns and to cause something new to occur. We also want to take a look at the environment. This is a picture of Beta Bay, but this picture of Beta Bay could be anywhere in the country. I mean, there's nothing about it that would make you feel that it's in Palma Ceia, let alone Florida or anywhere else. So we want to take a look at the design of the street in terms of, is there anything that we can create a sort of a signature design that would let people know that you've arrived in the Palma Ceia district, and how would that look going forward? On McDill, you have a variety of different businesses, primarily one-story businesses along the, and they all have the same setback, providing a little bit of rhythm, the same kind of rhythm. I think this is one of my favorite images of the district because it provides a perspective that can lend the discussion for everything that we want to talk about over the next several months. And really the question is, 20 years from now, what will this view look like in your eyes? Is it going to be the same, one-story buildings with the parking situated like that? Or will these buildings be replaced by two-story buildings? Will they be three-story buildings? What would be on the ground floor? What is, will there be restaurants, outdoor cafes? Will it be entertainment oriented, or will it be a shopping district? Will people live on these two streets? Will there be rooftop terraces? Those are all the questions that we'll be asking and trying to figure out what the image of this street will look like moving into 20 years. Or will it be exactly the same? Those are the questions that we'll want to sort of ponder with you as we try to set the tone for the future. Beta Bay, one of the functions of Beta Bay really is in line with its name. I mean, it connects one bay to the other bay. And we understand that as a connector, that we need to make sure that as the growth grows in the district, that the street, as I mentioned before, is able to do everything that it's supposed to do. That it will enable connections to occur from bay to bay. That will also enable connections to the businesses that form on each side of the street. That will also become a safe street for the residences, and that it functions in a way that allows the district to grow, to achieve the maximum vibrancy and provide a social good. We also have to remember not every street has an entrance and an exit to the crosstown. So these are things that we have to consider as we look at the street and make sure that we're building any kind of future recommendations to accommodate the access, the egress, and also the safety. And speaking of safety, we have to keep in mind that there is a need for safety. We have children that cross during the morning. We have a variety of people that want to cross at different times of the day. There's also a concern of maybe speeding. Crossing guards and speed lights, they're all over the city, but they seem to be in places where speeding and traffic safety is usually a concern. So we'll want to take a look at that. We'll want to get your insights and feedback and whether or not that really is an issue. But the goal is we want to make sure that we have a district that is safe for everyone and can still grow and take care of what it needs to in terms of moving traffic and people. Sidewalks, in some areas, sidewalks are a little bit wider. In some areas, they're not. This is a fairly narrow sidewalk on one stretch, and then it's compounded by the building, which is right up against the sidewalk. Ideally, we would like to see wider sidewalks everywhere, and it may be a strategy of waiting till buildings redevelop where we can get a wider sidewalk. But we want to take a look at how can we create wider sidewalks where possible. And if we can't create a wider sidewalk, how can we make it as pedestrian friendly as possible for people to use? This, I wasn't really too sure what was happening. It was just, I assumed that the driver just felt that the truck was too big to put into the lane, and so they moved it onto the sidewalk. And then I saw there was actually a couple of them that did the same thing. So I'm not really sure what happened there, but it's something we want to take a look at, the on-street parking. And are people feeling safe enough to park? Is it actually working? And so forth. And then we have to take a look at this. We don't really know what's going on here. The question is, you know, there's a lot of poles everywhere, but why does it have to have so many wires? And they're just loosely, and this is not the only pole that has this. I mean, I saw 3 or 4 poles where the wires were like this. The wires might be necessary, but they just there's ways of presenting the wire so it just doesn't create a visual clutter. And there are also areas, one thing that is another positive sign on, particularly on Bay to Bay, is that while there's some buildings that are set right up next to the sidewalk, there are many buildings that are actually set back from the sidewalk. And so there are strategies that would allow us in terms of creating some incentives for the property owners when they redevelop to allow more space, some of their land to be used as a sidewalk. And through providing some incentives. So we want to take a look at those areas in terms of where is the current setback and how can we create incentives to allow those areas to have wider sidewalks. Okay, another question. What are 3 issues that we must solve in this process? The 3 things that when this plan is done, that you would feel pretty good knowing that we paid attention to. Okay, just go ahead and keep typing. I'm going to keep rolling along. Everyone has trash day. We all deal with it. There may not be anything that we can do about it because this is purely an operational issue. But there may be some ideas about it. To me, it was just a curious, when you see it, all the cans lined up, it sticks out as something noticeable. Again, we all have the same way of dealing with it in our neighborhoods, and there may not be anything to do, any way to change it, but it was just stuck out in my mind as something to take note of. Now, this is a very curious situation. I don't want to draw attention to the particular property owner if you happen to be on here, because it was probably something that was done a long time ago, where the sign was probably, my guess is the sign was put up, and then somebody was hitting the sign, or people were hitting the sign, and there was a need to put the bollards up. But you can see from the one bollard, that's not stopping the problem. People are still hitting the bollard. And of course, it's just the grass that has grown. So we might want to look at maybe the sign, it may not be this sign, but maybe when the properties redevelop, that there's a way to relocate signs so none of this ever happens at all. These are type of situations that evolve over time. There's usually a decision that's made many years ago. People don't think anything of it, and then as the technology changes, cars change or whatever, people change, a problem arises, and then of course something else is added to try to fix the problem. But so we saw a couple of situations like this that maybe just through the redesign of the property as it redevelops in the future, that we can not only improve the safety, but we can also improve the visual appearance. And then we also have to remember that this is an active community, and kids of all ages are crossing the street, bicyclists are using it. So we want to make sure that we're paying attention to the safety aspects of all ages. You have some really interesting makings of the art in the district. These are just two incidences that I found, but I think there were more in the area. In fact, you have art galleries or art stores and art galleries already in the district. So there's something to build on in terms of the artistic quality of the district, and maybe that's where a theme starts to emerge at Palma Ceia. This is a building, just an example that this is a bank. Banks are not the most pedestrian friendly because they're primarily offices, but a good example of landscaping to be able to soften the edge and create a better experience for pedestrians. So if we can't create that full business or commercial openings with outdoor cafes and activity, maybe there's ways to create a softer edge for residents or people who are walking by. You have some restaurants that are also the making of a little bit of a night activity. I think we want to talk about how much night activity is appropriate for the district moving forward, and what type of night activity would you like to have, just so you get a handle of it on the front end and not have to deal with maybe some types of businesses that you would prefer not to have in terms of the activity, noise, sound, all that kind of stuff. And despite some of the shortcomings in the district, there are places in the district where, just because the way it's designed and some of the architecture, you have this very nice feeling, a very nice view. And this is what I think we're trying to see if we can create throughout the district. So now, wherever you're at in the district, you have this a very comfortable feeling that you enjoy the place that you're at, and you feel that it's in an attractive place. The neighborhoods that adjoin the district appear to be very stable. They're attractive. The streets are clean. They all look like they're have people that are in them. You know, it's just very stable, very active neighborhood, very strong neighborhoods. You also have a Roosevelt Elementary School, which is located I think 3 blocks, maybe 4 blocks from Bay to Bay. A great asset, allows people to walk to school, but again, it surfaces the need to make sure that people, children who have to cross Bay to Bay, can do so safely. Okay, so our last question of the evening, and this is where you get to put on your big idea hat. And that is, what do you think is your big idea for the Palma Ceia Commercial District? It doesn't matter what it is. You're thinking about something that is going to really be the signature project or signature program that you feel is going to really send the message that this is the district that you want to create. So spend a couple of minutes typing in your big idea, and you'll be surprised at how many times a big idea picks up some momentum and actually gains traction. But it has to start with somebody talking about it. Okay, go ahead and keep filling in your ideas. I did see a question. Somebody asked a question, why weren't we going all the way to Bayshore Boulevard? And the key answer to the crosstown makes a nice hard edge. And the other part is, once you start getting close to Bayshore Boulevard, there's a lot of other issues on Bayshore Boulevard that are distinct from the actual district. We're still going to look at how the district ties into Bayshore Boulevard, the fact that it's the gateway to Bayshore, and then also the water. But we just feel that it's we would be spending probably a great deal of time with some of the issues along Bayshore, and then it would detract from our time that we dedicate for the Palma Ceia district. So our summary, as we spent the last last few weeks looking at the district, is, in general, the Palma Ceia district has a lot of strengths going for it. It's almost like a house, a really nice house that just needs to be updated. There's things about it that it's got some good bones, as we would call it. It's got some strengths. It just maybe is a little dated. It needs to be updated, not just for today, but for the future. There's a lot of changes that are occurring in our community, and we want to make sure that the Palma Ceia district can take advantage of those changes and grow into the future. Our next steps are we're going to continue to receive public comment through December. You can email tampaplanning@tampagov.net with ideas or suggestions. If you're interested in being part of our focus group or want to talk a little one-on-one, give us your ideas, let us know through the email. We'll be posting, as I mentioned, other surveys periodically on our webpage. We're going to do the planning team will conduct the community analysis, and we'll do in our focus group meetings. I mentioned that we'll have a November community meeting to provide the preliminary findings and receive feedback. It'll either be a go-to webinar like this, or if we're in the mode of having live meetings, we'll have a live meeting. We'll know closer. And then we'll have another December meeting to present the issues and opportunities. That will take us to the completion of the public engagement phase. And then after the first of the year, we'll start on the development of the concepts and the ideas for the actual plan. We'll come back at the end of the year with a more specific schedule of how that will lay out. So this concludes our presentation on the Palma Ceia Neighborhood Commercial District. If there are any questions that you want to, if anyone has any second questions that you can type into the chat box or the question box, we'll be ready to, there'll be someone that could either just take them or we'll be able to respond to you through our email.
And Randy, if I may, just for 1 second, you guys in Palma Ceia, you've been very typative, I guess, instead of talkative since we're typing this. And Stephen Benson and I have been randomly just grabbing some of your comments to throw back at you guys so that you can see it. So what you've shown us, we haven't shown everything back to you. I just want to make sure that you guys know that if some of you are wondering, where's my comment? It's because we're just randomly grabbing them and throwing them back at you.
Yeah, as I mentioned, we have to actually physically type some type of response, and you've, as a group, you've been providing quite a bit of comments, and it's not been able to keep up with everybody. But we'll be able to summarize these comments back and make them available as we move into the process, so we have that information available. I'm going to leave the webinar open for a couple more minutes if anybody has any more comments or big ideas that they want to add. But at this point in time, the presentation is concluded.